How long have you guys been married?
We have been married 5 years. It will be 6 years of May of next year.
Wow. So how are you doing that? Um, you have a husband and you're out here. Like, what do you do? Like, because I know, like, sometimes, people be like, "Oh, I don't want a relationship." Some people don't, but sometimes, you get lonely, and you're human. Like, what do you do to get past those moments where you just want, to be held, or or to hold someone?
Right. And I'm not going to say that I don't have those moments. Certainly, the days are better
Mm-hmm.
because you're busy, you're
Right.
occupied with doing things. But when night falls, and it's time to get ready for bed and to go to bed, yeah, you have lonely nights. And so most of the time I cry.
Oh
Other
wow.
Listen up, everybody, have you heard the news? We got a brand new show that's breaking all the rules. Started out from VA and now we on the move. From local to global, cause we got something to prove. We came from the bottom, now we at the tippy top. To hold it down for our people, cause we all we got. This a cold, cold world, but we keeping it hot. What else get you on the line, ain't no time to stop. All work over here, still we having fun. Yeah, we say it like it is, ain't no holding our tongue. Go get us on the team, yeah, we getting it done. And shout out to Travell, yo, you number one. It started with a dream that turned into a vision. To educate new generations is our mission. Ears to the streets, yeah, we steady politicking. If it ain't about the change, mind your business.
Now wait again, minute. Wave your hands with it. Wait again, minute. Wave your hands with it. Now wait again, minute. Wave your hands with it. We top six like we all up on the gram with it. Now wait again, minute. Wave your hands with it. Now wait again, minute. Wave your hands with it. Now wait again, minute. Wave your hands with it. We top six like we all up on the gram with it.
Welcome to another episode of Wait Again Minute podcast. Today, I have to apologize, Mrs. James, because my co-host isn't here. She's actually out, but she's actually doing something good. She's actually out vending at an event today, so she could not be here. But I'm here, so we're gonna get the job done. We're gonna have a great conversation. So, are you ready?
I am ready and looking forward to it.
Great, great. So, can you please? Well, first of all, before I ask you to introduce yourself, how was your weekend?
My weekend was wonderful. Pretty quiet. I went to visit with my son yesterday, so that was good. We had an awesome visit. It was fun, pleasant, informative. Of course, we were talking about catching up on the world news and everything that's happening with the Queen's passing.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. You know what? I was gonna say I forgot about her passing, but I didn't. But let me tell you what I didn't like. I didn't like how people were on social media and they were like dragging the queen.
Right.
I'm like, that lady was 96 years old, didn't do anything directly to any one of us, and you guys are disrespecting your elders like that.
I don't know a whole lot about how they run their, monarchy or whatever, but
Mhm.
I thought she was a wonderful lady. I think that she was amazing for the things that she accomplished in that country. And for her to be the longest sitting monarch was unheard of. So I
Right.
commend her. 96, she
Yeah.
did what she did, and she lived a blessed and good life.
She did. She did.
Mhm.
Yeah. So rest in peace.
Yes.
So can you please introduce yourself to our viewers and listeners of Wait Again Minute podcast?
Sure. My name is Paulettra James. I am one of the co-founders of an advocacy group that is fighting for prison criminal justice reform in Virginia called Sisters in Prison Reform. I am a graduate of George Washington University. I just graduated last year with my master's degree.
Congratulations.
Thank
Congratulations.
you. Very proud of that accomplishment. Just turned 50 last year, so all the milestones of last year are catching up to me this year.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure. But you know what? I'm trucking right behind you. I'm shortly, moving slowly, but
you're
I'm
not
moving.
looking a day over 30.
You know what? See, I knew I was gonna like you. I knew I was gonna like you for some reason. Came in telling the truth. I loved it. I
Yes.
appreciate it. I appreciate it. Okay, so tell us a little bit about the program that you're working with and what does it do and what made you get into that?
Sure. So Sisters in Prison Reform was a accomplishment of three ladies, myself and two other ladies, one here in Richmond, Virginia, and then one in Boston, Massachusetts.
Okay.
We were running in kind of the same circle of legislation and, the General Assembly and things that were happening on the political front with laws here in Virginia.
Mhm.
And of course, I am in this field or in this advocacy for prison reform because of my son being incarcerated, but
Okay.
also I married someone who's incarcerated. And so, because of that, we were kind of in some of the same Facebook groups for family support for
Mhm.
incarcerated individuals. And I was kind of, upset and distraught that every time legislation would be presented and brought forward, it would have exclusions, it would have carve outs, it would
Mhm.
have the separation of violent versus nonviolent offenses,
Right.
which excluded my loved one. And because of that, I, speaking to these two other ladies, was like, hey, we need to get together and, let's have a conversation and talk. And in that conversation, we discovered that we were experiencing some of the same things. And because of that, we were like, let's change this.
Right.
Let's start an advocacy group and let's get involved and do the work. And that's what we did. And so, somewhere around August, September of 2020 is when Sisters in Prison Reform was born.
Okay. So now, excuse me, when you guys are doing the prison reform, the advocacy group, what is it like? Are you guys going to like the capital trying to get how can I say this, better communication with the Department of Corrections and Family, or like the justice system? What is it that you all are actually trying to move, shake, and pull that's already together?
So I like that question. And to answer it, when we first started out, we didn't know what we were doing. We
Okay.
were like babies learning how to crawl and eventually, starting to walk.
Mhm.
So we were kind of just sitting back, not really knowing what to do or how to get involved, but more of just watching other people's in the movement. So paying attention to national organizations like FAM, other local advocates here in Virginia like Justice Forward, Humanization Project, ACLU Virginia, and learning from them, what we should be doing and how to go about doing that.
Right.
Also doing our own research behind the scenes and having meetings, amongst ourselves to figure out what it was we wanted to accomplish and what it was we wanted to do. And in doing that, we discovered that there was this thing called Second Look.
Okay.
Um, at the time, it was really just on the federal level where it was offering individuals an opportunity for a second chance after serving so much time.
Mhm.
And we were like, hey, why not bring this to Virginia? Why not sit up there and write a bill or have
Right.
legislation introduced that would offer individuals here a second look? And with that, we teamed up with those other advocates to, get some movement behind it and get it pushed forward. And in 2022, we introduced it. Chap Peterson was
Okay.
one of our patrons, as well as Carrie Corner, who carried the bill for us in legislation this year. The bill made it through the Senate, but
Okay.
it unfortunately failed in the House.
Yeah.
But the aspects of that bill was it didn't matter what the person's offense was, because as you know, with parole, unfortunately, a lot of those individuals get denied parole for the simple sense of the nature of their offense.
Okay.
Well, it doesn't matter if that person is going to spend 10, 15, 20, 30 more years incarcerated. The nature of their offense is never going to change, but the
Mm.
person changes.
Right. Yeah.
So because that person is changing, we shouldn't always base whether or not they have earned an opportunity to come home on the nature of their offense. There should be other factors that are taken into consideration for that.
Mhm.
What have they been doing? What programs have they taken? What education have they gotten? What certifications have they
Right.
received since they've been incarcerated? Those things need to be looked at, because while the nature of the offense doesn't change, the person changes.
Yes.
The
Yes. Yes.
character
Very
of
much
the
so.
person changes. The mindset of the person changes. And because of that, that needs to be looked at. And so we decided to write a bill that would look at those things and
Okay.
take that in consideration. And it was be a petition that they can go to the court that sentenced them to have it evaluated.
Reconsideration or something
Mhm.
like that. Okay, now are you guys going to bring the bill back up?
We are. We will
Okay.
be bringing that bill back up in the 2023 General Assembly, and it will still have the same patrons, Senator Peterson as well as Kerry Corner.
Okay. So hopefully it'll get passed in the you said it fell in this house.
It failed in the House.
Fell in the house.
Yes.
Okay, so hopefully it'll get passed in the house.
We are keeping our fingers crossed.
If there's some people that turn
Yes, we are hoping that,
Good turn, yeah.
strategy, we can get some individuals to support it that
Right.
will allow us to have the numbers we need to get it passed.
Yeah. Okay, now what if someone would say, well, they actually did the crime, so why can't they do the time? Why should we give them, why should they be reconsidered for a sentence reduction based on them changing because they may not have been who they were when they committed the crime?
You know, if I got a quarter for every time somebody says that,
Right.
well, they did the crime, so they should do the time. Yes, that is correct. They should serve time for the crime that they have done. However, the time needs to fit what that crime is. There have been too many individuals who have committed offenses that was not fatal in nature or did not cause, harm to someone,
Mhm.
and they received some life sentences. There are drug offenses where individuals have been sentenced to 50, 60, 70 years
Right.
for, a drug offense. And you can't incarcerate away addictions. You can't incarcerate
that's
away mental illness.
Mhm.
These are circumstances that need additional resources and
Rehabilitation, yeah.
yes, they need additional services.
Mhm.
That's what we should be investing in, not sitting up here just saying we're just going to lock them up and throw away the key.
Right.
But instead, we're saying we need to get you some additional help. And oftentimes they're not getting that help in Department of Corrections. I know Department of Corrections, who does a great job, say they do, but a lot of them don't. And you can tell because they're repeat offenders that
Mhm.
are cycling in and out of the system. They get out, they go back to what they know, and they're back in the system again
Right.
because that drug addiction was not treated. They're not receiving the treatment that they need to receive for it. So, yes, they should serve time, but make sure it's time that's not excessive. It's not
Right.
time that's lengthy. It's not time that's harsh. And it's certainly not lock them up and throw away the key
Mhm.
and just forget about it.
Right. And I think a lot of people who are overly um receive that time are African Americans. Like
They are.
they and the way that the prison system is designed, it's a business.
Mhm.
They're not in the business of rehabilitation. And let's just, call it for what it is.
Right.
It is to sentence them, lock them up and throw away the key.
Mhm.
And then it's like you're caging in an animal because they're upset. They have misplaced anger and they're not getting the treatment that they need.
Right.
So it's causing havoc within those prison walls as well.
Exactly. And that's the thing, when you get to the root of why the corrections system existed way back in the 1700s, it wasn't about punishment. It
Right.
was about, rehabilitation. That's what corrections mean. Corrections means we are going to correct the behavior of an individual.
Mhm.
And that's what that's what today's system should be about, corrections. It should be about we got an individual that we are going to allow to have programs, have access to education, have access to resources where
Mhm.
they can be corrected and be rehabilitated so that they can come out and be a productive citizen.
Right.
Also, taking in the fact, individuals' backgrounds. We have, as you stated, the majority of those individuals that are incarcerated now are African American or from Black and Brown communities
Mhm.
because 53%, if not more, I can't remember the exact numbers, are incarcerated in Department of Corrections.
Right.
And so they have come from impoverished communities, they've come from low income communities, and they've come from communities where they are not afforded the same opportunities as everyone. So, what do they go to? What do they turn to? They turn to what they know, the streets.
Yeah,
And as we know, the streets is not good.
right, absolutely. Well, I'm enjoying our conversation. Let's run to a quick commercial right quick.
Yes.
That commercial went quick. And just like that, we're back. Okay, now let's get into the reason why you are part of this advocacy group and why you drove from Northern Virginia to little old Suffolk to have a conversation with me today. And let me tell you, I'm just grateful that you actually did that. And just to let you know, by you doing that, it lets me know that one, you're passionate about what you do and you're serious about it. And it lets me know that it's something there
Yes.
that you're just not letting up on.
Yeah, it is definitely something that I'm passionate about, something that I believe in, and also something that I feel God is leading as my purpose.
Right. I got you. So now you're in this advocacy group. You say you originally was in it because of your son, right? And your son is in prison for how long?
He has 3 more years.
3 more years. Okay. So he's basically on countdown.
He is.
Okay. So he's doing good?
He is doing well. He is happy. He is healthy, and he is alive. And I am grateful for that.
Can't ask for more.
Can't ask for more.
Can't ask for more because sometimes it can be a covering.
Yes.
Of especially like, you know, all what's going on out here in society now. It's just so much that people can get into or not, you know, directly, indirectly. So, you know, you can count it as a blessing.
Yes.
In disguise. Now, I remember you saying that you met your husband through your son.
Yes.
Now, Miss Paulettra, now I really need you to really break that down for me.
Okay. So when my son went and he was sent to Augusta Correctional, which is up near Harrisonburg, you know, not having anyone that was incarcerated or not having anyone that had been in prison, I only knew really what I'd seen on TV, as you know, which is horror stories. The worst of the worst is what you see on TV, you know, of what happens in prison. So here I am, a mother. I'm terrified. I'm scared, but I'm also trusting God because I know that he's going to keep him safe and protect him. So my son and I had conversations, you know, on the phone, and we're talking, and he kept talking about this individual, JJ. JJ, me and JJ did this, me and JJ did that. I work out with JJ. And I'm thinking, like, who is this JJ and what is his intentions? Because I will come up in DOC to protect my cub. Like, he's my cub. I'm Mama Bear. I'm going to come up in there if I need to, you know. So, right. So I was like, you know, I need to talk to this JJ guy. Who is he? I want to know more about him and, you know, why is he hanging around you so much? And he was like, oh, Mom, he's a Christian brother. He took me under his wing, him and, you know, several other guys, and we do Bible study together. You know, we work out together. They're, you know, teaching me what I need to learn to, you know, survive in here. And I was like, yeah, but I still want to have a conversation with this individual. So so happens when we were on the phone, he would be passing through, and my son would holler out, JJ, you know, my mom wanna talk to you. And the first few times he was like, all right, you know, I'll stop back through. I'm on my way to the shower. I'm, you know, he was leaving from the shower to go and get dressed. So we started like having, you know, conversations through my son, him sitting next to my son, and he's talking and I'm asking questions. And then one time he actually got on the phone and we were talking, and I don't know, it was something in his voice that was kind of intriguing. And I was like,
so what he had the Bob baritone voice.
He did. He had that very white baritone voice, and it was intriguing. And I was like, I wonder what he looked like.
Antennas went up.
Exactly. Not that I was looking for
Right.
anyone, but it was still kind of, an intriguing thought in my mind. And so this went on for a while. I don't know how long it went on for, but after some time, me and my son were getting ready to get off the phone one evening and then said, well, hey, stop by JJ's cell and ask him if you can get his state number.
Okay.
I wouldn't mind being like a pen pal with him,
Okay.
I
Gotcha.
didn't know if he was involved with anyone or if he had anyone special, but I was like, I wouldn't mind being a pen pal.
So you were shooting your shot.
Kind of, sort of,
Okay.
on the low key.
Gotcha.
But so he did. He asked him for his state number and he gave it to him. And I'll tell you kind of what he said later
Okay.
after that. But, we ended up exchanging emails over time and just kind of asking questions. And, I was sharing devotionals and scripture and spiritual stuff with him. And, of course, we were asking how we grew up, what,
Right.
about our background of our lives and everything. And I don't know, somewhere in those exchange of emails, he asked if he could call me. And so I was like, yeah, sure. He was like, don't worry. You don't have to put money on the phone. I got it. I'll
Right.
cover it. It won't be no cost to you. And we started talking. And those conversations kind of led into me falling in love with him.
Oh, wow.
I'd never seen him. Didn't know what he looked like other
And
than the description.
how long of a time had passed before?
So we started conversating like late June, July of
Okay.
2016. And by October of 2016, we were ending our conversations with "I love you."
Oh, wow.
And in February of 2017, he asked me to marry him, and in May of 2017, we got married.
Well, okay. So how did you guys get married? Like, were you able to go to down up there or down there?
I was. He was at Augusta, and I was able to go to Augusta, and I had to pay for the person that would,
Marry you guys.
marry me, marry us, and we did that. And his parents came, and that's how it went. That's how it happened.
Okay, so you guys fell in love, and okay, when you were married, see, because I've never seen anybody personally. I've just seen on TV. So were you guys able to hold hands, or was it through a glass? Like, what was the process for that?
So we come in just like you were going to have a regular visit. Of
Okay.
course, I had to go through security. Now, as far as his ring, I had to send it to the warden secretary.
Okay.
We could have a disposable camera that we can use to take pictures to,
Oh, wow.
kind of remember the day.
Memories, right?
And we were able to hold hands while we were in front of the person that was performing the ceremony. And then after the ceremony, we were able to spend 2 hours, 2.5 hours together, just him and I. Of course, there was a CO in the room, but it's just him and I, two chairs
So you
to
couldn't have
sit.
conjugal. Oh
No.
Oh no. Oh no. So you had to sit there, and then so it became like a regular visit. Then, like, you guys couldn't touch and stuff like that.
Well, during that time, we could
Okay.
hold hands, we could touch
Okay.
each other, but yeah, that was the only time that they would allow that.
Oh wow.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's
So our love is strictly based on love
and communication,
and communication.
which is big because a lot
That's
of
key.
times once the physical is gone, you're not looking, you're not buff as you used to be, you're not cut, like you used to be. A lot of people, they're in the relationships for I say the wrong things,
Right.
The physical.
Right.
So when that dissolves, then what?
Well, that's the good thing
the good
about
thing for
our
you guys,
marriage
right?
is it's not based on physical. It's based on mental, spiritual connectivity.
Right, which is something strong
It is.
and powerful. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So now, how long have you guys been married?
We have been married 5 years. It will be 6 years of May of next year.
Wow. So how are you doing that? You have a husband and you're out here. Like, what do you do? Like, because I know, like, sometimes, people be like, "Oh, I don't want a relationship." Some people don't, but sometimes, you get lonely, and you're human. Like, what do you do to get past those moments where you just want, to be held, or or to hold someone.
Right. And I'm not going to say that I don't have those moments. Certainly, the days are better
Mm-hmm.
because you're busy,
Right.
you're occupied with doing things. But when night falls, and it's time to get ready for bed and to go to bed, yeah, you have lonely nights. And so most of the time I cry.
Oh,
Other
wow.
times, I turn on my gospel because I feel if I have nowhere else to go, no one else to turn to, I can always go to God
Yeah.
because he knows me.
Yeah.
So that's typically what I do. And my husband and I have conversations about it, and we'll say, I'll tell him like, babe, I can't wait for you to be home. I
Right.
miss you. But more recently, and this is a private conversation, but I'll share a little bit of it.
Okay.
I told him I was like, before I used to think, man, I can't wait for you to be home so that we can be intimate.
Right. I was
But
about to ask you
then
that. Yeah.
those turned into, I can't wait for you to be home just to be able to spend time with you and to share life with you and to experience life with you
Mm-hmm.
because, you start seeing individuals who are young and who are close to our age that are passing on.
Yeah.
And you realize that at that time, other things become more
Yeah.
important than just
Start looking at life
intimacy.
differently.
You
Yeah.
start looking at life a lot differently. And that is where we are. We're like, we can't wait to travel together. We
Right.
can't wait. He's never been to Disney World.
Wow.
So I'm like, I can't wait to take you to Disney World
Mm-hmm.
to experience something that you've never experienced before.
Right. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to those moments.
Yeah, creating those moments. Well, I got you. I got
Hmm.
you. But I had to ask you because, you know, being you know, um, a human,
Right,
just being, doing life. It's like sometimes, you want that warm body, but
right.
then sometimes on the flip side, it's like, okay, you get that warm body, but then you gotta take all that comes along with it, all the conversation, all the disagreement. So it's like, okay, so it's kind of different. So I guess the way you have it, I wouldn't say I personally would want it,
Right.
but it works for you and you're pushing through it.
It doesn't work for everyone,
Right.
but I think you have to be a different minded person to be
Hmm.
able to endure this journey. Like you have to be strong because you have to understand that it's not a race, it's a marathon.
And especially mentally.
Yes,
Because
definitely.
I just believe that it would, if you're not mentally strong, it would do something to you over the
Yeah.
period of time.
Mhm.
Okay, now you guys have been married going on 6 years next year, right?
Mhm.
So how much? So tell us a little bit about him. Like, how much time was he sentenced to, and what was his charge?
Sure. So Jerry, my husband's name, was sentenced back in 2000 to 7 counts robbery, 7 counts use of firearm, and 1 count attempted robbery. He received a original sentence of 73 years. The judge suspended 35 of those years, and he was left with an active 38 years to serve. No one was harmed, no one was injured, and the firearm that they charged him with was an unloaded BB gun that was found in his car.
So basically, a toy gun.
Pretty
Pretty
much.
much, yeah.
Hmm. But
Wow.
because there's no definition of firearms in the state of Virginia,
Mhm.
they, as if it's a real gun.
Wow. Okay, now how old was he when he was sentenced to do 38 years?
He was 28 years old.
Wow.
Hmm.
Okay. So he's been in how long now?
22 years.
22 years.
He
So
turns 50 in 3.5 days.
wow. Sheesh. So you married someone who was sentenced to do 38 years.
Hmm.
You went from being single to marrying someone. What How did we get there? I understand the love. I understand, the connection, and it's much deeper. But okay, so I understand that, you're good with who you married, and we never know who God may send our way.
Hmm.
So I get that part, right? Okay, so he's been in 22. He's served 22 years already,
Correct.
and he has to serve the whole 38, or is it 85% of the?
It's 85%. So his release date is 2033. He has about 10 years, a little over 10 years left to do.
Wow. Okay. So now bring us up to speed, because Virginia doesn't have parole, correct?
Correct. Parole was abolished in 95 and he committed his offense in 2000.
Wow. Okay. So now I've recently seen like thousands of people get out because of this new law. So can you explain to us, tell us what that new law is, and explain to us the name of it actually and
Mhm.
what it is?
Sure. So in 2020, there was a bill that went through to offer individuals incarcerated enhanced sentence
Mhm.
credits. And what that means is right now they only receive about 4.5 days for every 30 days that they serve. With
Okay.
this new enhanced good time earning bill, they would end up getting on a level, because if you're level 1, you can get up to 15 days. If you're level, I'm sorry, you can get 15 days.
Okay.
A level 2 would get 7.5 days, and so on and so forth. So it depends on what level you are, which would determine how much extra time you would get beyond that 4.5 days. So that bill was passed in 2020.
Mhm.
However, because DOC were saying that they needed extra time to be able to calculate everyone's, new credit and extra time that they would be receiving, they needed an additional 2 years before it gets implemented. So that pushes us to July 1 of 2022 that it would
Mhm.
have went in effect. Here we are in 2022. We got wind, the advocates of Virginia got wind that they were trying to repeal the bill at first,
Okay.
which was in the regular session of the General Assembly, the beginning of this year. Well, that effort failed. They were not able
Mhm.
to repeal the bill. So, since they did not succeed in repealing the bill, they
Okay.
decided to
So
do something
okay,
else.
so let me stop you right there. So when
Mhm.
they were trying to repeal the bill, that was when the new governor came in, right?
That was when
So
the
he
new
was trying to,
administration took in.
right. So he was trying to undo everything that the previous,
Not necessarily the governor, but the
okay, the
Republicans in
Republicans,
the
okay, in the
House.
House, because they had gained control of the
They
House.
had gained
Okay,
control of the
gotcha,
House.
gotcha. Okay.
hmm
So now we're at July.
We're at July. Well, before July.
Mhm.
So again, the efforts for the Republicans with the new, political climate of Republicans taking control of the House failed to repeal the bill. They decided to do something else, which
Mhm.
was introduce a budget amendment. Because, of course, 2022 was the year that the new budget for Virginia would go into effect.
Mm.
So, through the budget, they decided to introduce a some legislation that would prohibit individuals who have what is called mixed offenses, meaning they have a violent offense and a nonviolent offense. And here we go again with
Mhm.
this, competition of comparing violent against nonviolent.
Right.
But if you had mixed offenses, you would no longer qualify for the earned credit that they were going to be giving you. Meaning, if you had, for instance, my husband's case,
Mhm.
because he had a robbery charge, that was a violent offense
Violent.
and
Right.
automatically excluded. However, the firearm use was not excluded in that earned sentence credit bill, which means he would have received extra credit time
Mhm.
on the years he was serving for his gun charge,
Okay.
which was 33 years that he was serving for that. Because
Hold
at
on. They gave him 33 years for a gun charge.
yes, so gun charges fall under mandatory minimums.
Mm.
hmm Meaning the judge's hands are tied
Right.
in the time that they get. So it's 3 years for the first offense
Mhm.
and 5 years for every additional offense. And because there were seven of them,
Mm.
he received 33 years.
Whew. So he received okay. So he had 7 of weapon charges, gun
hmm
charges, but with one gun.
One firearm.
So that was like they stacked the
That
charges.
is what they call it, stacking charges.
Wow, that's
And there are a lot of individuals that are
mhm.
in DOC with stacked charges.
Yeah. Yeah.
hmm
Because it you know, they figure when they do that, it's like, yeah, their hands are tied, but they know, but the prosecutor and them, they know what they're doing when they do that.
Yeah, the prosecutor knows
Mm-hmm.
and the judge knows.
Yeah.
Oftentimes the judge has no choice because again, it's a mandatory minimum. So they have to issue down that time.
Mm. Wow. Okay. So now with this new um
Budget amendment.
budget amendment,
Mhm.
what does that do for your husband? Was he looking to come home early?
So he would have received additional time, which
Okay.
means instead of getting out in 2033, he would have been getting out. And we don't have an exact, but kind of approximate based on the calculations because, DSC does their own
Their own,
calculations
right.
and it doesn't always match up. But what we were calculating with someone who understands, a little bit of how to do it, he would have been getting out late 2023 or early 2024.
Wow. So now, was he notified or anything like, or this something that you guys knew about, the advocacy group knew about, and you thought that your husband would fall under that?
So we did know that he would qualify for it.
Okay.
And we know that because there are some individuals that we work with within our advocacy that are public defenders and that understand the bill that said, yes, he would qualify
Okay.
for the enhanced credits. Again, he was not notified, but
Okay.
just because we knew that he would qualify for it, we kind of started doing our own calculations on how much time he would get, which was roughly somewhere around 4 to 5 years.
Wow. Off,
Hmm.
which would have been a major impact.
It would have been a major impact.
Now, now with your husband being in there, and he's hearing this, and he's hopeful that, that they will come knock on him, on his door and tell him B&B,
Hmm.
right? So was he notified that he didn't qualify, or they just didn't say anything good
He
or bad?
he was not notified that he didn't qualify, but when the budget amendment passed in June, which
Mm-hmm.
was several weeks before it was, the bill was to take effect, um, we knew that because he had those mixed offenses that he would no longer qualify.
Wow. So how did that make him feel once he, learned all of that?
So the ironic part of it all is we, as this new enhanced bill was going through, we always thought that he was excluded anyway. So we
Okay.
never put hope in that bill because we didn't think he qualified.
Mm-hmm.
It was not until about early this year, somewhere between March and April, that we discovered he would qualify for this
Right.
this extra credit. And so we started having conversations, and those conversations became hopeful and joyful. And, babe, you're going to be getting out sooner. Like, you're not going to have to spend the next 11 years,
Right.
that they're saying. It became more of planning what we're going to be doing, looking at houses again, looking at
Mm-hmm.
buying land, making, future plans with each
Right.
other. So we were excited. We were glad. When that budget amendment passed, it was devastating. It was devastating for him. It was devastating for me. Um, there were times where I didn't even have encouraging words to be able to share with him
I'm sure.
to uplift his hope again,
Mm-hmm.
and I remember one conversation he said, he was like, "Babe," he was like, "I'm not going to get my hopes up anymore." He was like, "I am just going to bow down and roll over in so many words
Mm-hmm.
and serve my 11 years and then I'll come home." He was done. He had just quit and given up mentally, physically. He was
Right.
like, there's no need for you to fight anymore. There's no need for you to do what you're doing anymore.
Mm.
Um and that broke me, and I had to take a few weeks away from doing what I was doing. And my
Mm-hmm.
advocacy group understood because, we all know we have
Right.
to protect ourselves and take care of ourselves mentally. So, I'd shared with them, like, I'm going to take a little while to get myself together. Um, and I just kind of stepped away for a little bit, not really, doing social media or
Mm-hmm.
advocating or anything, just to figure out what am I to do next.
Right.
And, they say, after the storm is the calm.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was a storm for me. That was a
Right.
storm for us to endure. And after that, I came back and I was like, babe, you know what? No. I was like, first, yes, I want you home. Yes, I do this
Mhm.
because of you. I was like, but you're not the only person that I do this for. I said, I
Right.
do this because I feel it's my purpose. It's my plan. It's what God has for me. And I'm going to keep fighting. I was
Yeah.
like, we're going to keep fighting. I was like, and you're not going to have to do those 11 years. We're
Right.
going to fight this. We're going to find another way.
Right.
I said, there's always a ram in the bush
Yeah,
and we're going to
definitely.
find it and we're going to
Definitely.
get it. So, he was like, okay, he was very hesitant. He really
Mhm.
wasn't into it, but eventually he warmed up to it.
Yeah.
And I can't share a whole lot, but we end up getting some rams
Okay.
that will hopefully help to bring him home sooner. And we are just trusting and standing on that.
That's it. Now, did he ever at one point tell you, just move on, just because I'm not getting out, um, anytime soon?
He has never told me that. As a matter of
Oh, he
fact,
he knew
our
he
running
knew he
joke,
had gold. He had know he had gold. He wanna mess that up.
our running joke was always, if you go find someone else, I'm gonna find you.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna roll up on where you live up in Northern Virginia, and I'm
Right.
gonna find you. So he has never told me to move
That's
on, and
it.
I've never sat back and you know given him a reason to think that,
Right.
because I've always told him, I'm your ride or die.
Yeah.
Like, we said our vows till death do us part, and that is what it is. It's till death do us part.
Now, has he told you that he has regretted the things that he has done that has landed him there?
Oh, yeah, most definitely. He is very remorseful. He has never once, excused away
Mhm.
what he did. Because, so just to give a little back history,
Okay.
he was in a very abusive relationship, because he had a 10th grade education.
Okay.
He dropped out of school. And, I'm not saying that all individuals who lack education turn to
Mhm.
crime, but we do know that there's some correlation to, education
Right.
and crime.
Mhm.
But he dropped out in 10th grade. He married someone that was a little older than him. That she
So he
ended up
likes older
pregnant.
women.
He apparently likes older
Yeah.
women. um, but he married someone that's a little bit older than him. She ended up
Mhm.
getting pregnant, and they had a baby. So,
Okay.
as you know, when you are the man of the house, you're supposed to be able to financially provide for your family. You're supposed to be able to financially give to your family. And
Mhm.
unfortunately, having a 10th grade education, that's difficult to do,
Right.
because you have to have a high school diploma to get a job. Even back in 2000, you needed at least a high school diploma. And so because of that, he wasn't able to get stable employment or keep, stable employment. And so
Mhm.
with that, came the arguments at home, the fights at home, the mental abuse at
Mhm.
home, which ended up being physical abuse at home. And
Wow.
that's mentally draining on an individual who had a undiagnosed literacy issue, which
Mhm.
also is what led to him dropping out and being okay with dropping out, was because he had, undiagnosed literacy issues that he struggled in school with.
Mhm.
And so, you know, um, he got depressed. He got down on himself, and he wanted to end his life.
Mm.
He had attempted suicide a few weeks before he robbed his first bank, but that
Hold on. So
didn't.
he robbed a bank.
Mhm.
Did he get any money?
The total that he got was less than 5,000.
Oh my gracious. And when they got him, they got the money too.
No,
Oh,
so
okay.
he so before he before he robbed his first bank, he tried to commit suicide. That didn't
Okay.
go over well. So in his mind, he formulated, if I rob banks, then the
They'll kill
police
me.
will kill me.
Mhm.
I'll have an easy out. Then there won't be anything over my head, and my
Mm.
family won't feel bad because the police killed me.
Right.
Not, he didn't die in his own hands. Well, that didn't happen. Um, and we've had a conversation, because I was like, well, babe, did you ever think after the first couple banks to stop?
So he was a serial bank robber.
Well, not necessarily a serial bank robber, but he was out to get killed.
Mm.
And so he just he said, because he was mentally suffering, nothing clicked to say stop. So he just kept trying, thinking the police is going to kill
Destruction,
me.
yeah.
The police is going to kill me. He also, dibbled in a few drugs and some alcohol at the time because, again, he's suffering mentally. So, he was just thinking that, he would get killed. So that was how they ended up with the seven
7.
robberies.
Wow. Okay, okay, so he got one for each robbery.
Hmm.
Okay, gotcha, gotcha. Now, do you feel as though he has changed?
I do. I feel that he has changed. In talking with his parents and his friends and his family,
Mhm.
because so my husband has a church background. His
Okay.
father was a bishop
So he's a
for the
PK kid.
community.
Okay.
For 39 years,
Mhm.
he was a pastor in the community. And so my husband grew up in church.
Mhm.
So he, spent majority of his life just going to school, going to church, going to
Right.
school, going to church. So it was also a sheltered life. And that was kind of what was another factor in him, when this woman became pregnant and he was, well, you have to marry her now
Right.
because it's the right thing to do, because this is their
The baby
background.
out
This
of
is what
wedlock.
they, right.
Yeah. Mhm.
This is what they grew up being taught. But that was also a way to get out from under the strict upbringing that he was under, being able to have some freedom in life. And as we know, the grass is not always greener on the other side.
No, ma'am, not at all.
And so that just kind of turned into a spiral of events for him.
Mm. So now he has a boy or girl?
So he had a son.
Oh, he had a son. Oh, he's no longer living?
No, no, he is.
Okay, okay, okay. So now you have a son and he has a son,
Hmm.
right? Okay, so you guys are gonna have a blended family.
We do have a blended family
Yeah.
because he actually has two
Oh,
two
yes.
children. He has a daughter and a son, and I
Okay.
have a son and two daughters.
Oh, y'all have a partridge family
We do.
then. Yeah. Okay. Y'all got okay. Y'all got it going on. Okay. Now, when he was in there, I understand you said that he was, he kind of felt away at first, but then he got himself together and pushing forward.
Hmm.
And I understand you said there's a ram in the bush now. But out of this episode today, what do you want people to walk away with?
So, what I would like people to walk away with today is that everybody that is incarcerated is not a bad person. Everyone that is incarcerated is not a violent person. And everybody changes. We
Mhm.
should be affording individuals who have shown, who have worked hard, who has put in the efforts and the work to be better. We should afford them that opportunity to come out and be productive citizens in society and in our communities because as we know, mass incarceration does not deter crime. It does
Right.
not keep communities safe because if it did, we should be the safest country in the world considering
Right.
we have the highest incarceration rate of any country in this world. But it doesn't. Crime
Right.
continues to go up, crime continues to happen. And for our governor to say, when he passed this budget amendment, that we're closing a loophole and keeping the most violent offenders in, but yet the crime rates in
It's
Virginia
still
is
going up.
still increasing. If the most violent ones are incarcerated, then why is crime continually going up?
That's right.
You can't continue to use the excuse that we're going to keep people incarcerated to protect communities because it does not. It harms communities
Right.
because these are individuals who have family, who have loved ones that are waiting for them, and children who are growing up without their parents, and who, when they don't grow up with their parents, probably end up, as you know, generational curses exist.
Mhm.
They end up repeating that cycle. And so then we have created this cycle of, crime within a family. And we should not be doing that. Instead, we should be promoting, acceptance and second chances and opportunities. And like I said, taking money that's being spent on building prisons and instead build facilities that will help provide them with resources to, you know, do away with the substance abuse and the addictions that are happening or the mental illness that may be
Right.
occurring in the individual.
Right. Okay, now what now I understand you believe in I think most of us should believe in second chances.
Mhm.
However, I do think that it should be on a case by case,
Yes.
situation. But for sometimes, like for those cases of people of inmates who have had second and third chances, right,
Mhm.
and they get out and then they commit another offense.
Mhm.
What makes your husband situation different from the ones who got out and keeps going back like a revolving door?
First of all, it's a proven fact that those who serve excessive sentences have the lowest recidivism rate
Okay.
because they really aren't looking for a second chance. They're looking for a first chance.
Mm.
Because when they've been down 15, 20, 30, 40 years, you're
Mhm.
talking 2, 3, 4 decades,
Right.
they haven't been given a second chance. They're being given a first chance to
Okay.
come out and be a good person,
Mhm.
a good citizen, a productive citizen, because the mistakes of their past should not be what gets held over their heads for the rest of their lives. We've all
Right.
made mistakes.
Yeah.
And we are all always looking for grace and forgiveness. And that's what we should be offering these
Every day.
individuals.
Yeah. And that's what God he gives us grace and mercy. He affords us that every day.
Hmm.
Every day. So and I know a lot of us don't extend that same grace,
Right.
you know, at least to that magnitude anyway.
Exactly.
Um but now if those ram in the bushes um go in the way that you guys are praying that it does,
Mhm.
what does he say he gonna do when he first get home?
The first thing he wants to do is eat.
That I think that's a lot of them though. They be wanting like a good meal. So he wants
Yes.
did he say what he wants to eat?
You know, it has changed so much.
Okay.
At first, it was I want fried chicken with some collard greens and cornbread and potato salad.
Right.
To I want a roast with the fixins, the carrots, the celery, the potatoes,
Oh, he
the
wanted it all,
he
yeah.
wants it all.
Thanksgiving
So
feast.
I think I'm just gonna have a smorgasbord
Yeah.
of food ready for him when he gets home so
Mhm.
that he can have whatever it is his heart desires.
Yeah. Oh, I have no doubt you gonna make it right now. I have no, and I'm sure he doesn't. He knows that you're gonna do what it needs to do.
Yeah, he like I said, he's never not accepted the guilt of what he's done,
Okay.
but he has also said because he's also getting his associate's degree in
That's
biblical
good.
studies
That's good.
because he wants to mentor. Men have a hard time being able to express when they're suffering mentally.
That's true.
So he wants to be able to go back and mentor youth, particularly
Mhm.
men, to let them know it's okay to seek help. It's
Right.
okay to say, I'm not okay. It's okay for you to get the help you need so that you don't end up in the circumstances that he ended up in and being incarcerated for as long as he did. So he wants to give back to the community. He wants to help other young men not fall in that path that he fell in.
Yeah.
Even though he was suffering mentally, he says that's never excuse for what he did. And now he knows that if he has mental illness,
Mhm.
that he is to seek help for it.
Yeah. Yeah. So he's been in 22 years, right?
Mhm.
So how has his infractions been?
He has been infraction free for 17 years,
Wow,
meaning
okay.
he has been keeping his nose clean. He's
Mhm.
been doing what he's supposed to be doing. And as a matter of fact, he just recently had his annual review, and we're hoping in the next coming months he'll be moved to a level 1 work camp.
Okay. Okay. Well, he's in level 2 now.
He's at a level 2 now.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that's good because, I can see like the first 5 years, right? 'Cause you said
Mhm.
17 he's been free. But a lot of times when they go in like that, they go in and they, have to adjust.
Right.
So when they go in, they're angry, they're upset,
Yep.
misplaced, so it's like a lot is going on.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe once you start maturing and
Yeah.
realizing this is where I'm going to be, I got to make good of what I'm doing, then, your outlook changes.
Not just that, your mind
Your mind's
changes.
okay.
I figure the first 5 years should be a time of grace because, like you say, they're learning the landscape.
Mm-hmm.
This is new to them. The policies, the procedures, the control environment that they're in,
Right.
that's new. So, of course, they're in survival mode in that first 5 years. But
Mm-hmm.
after that 5 years, then you have to sit back and think, what am I going to do different?
Yeah.
How am I going to be different? How am I going to prove myself? Because that's what you're
Mm-hmm.
doing. How am I going to prove myself to not only the people I'm around every day, but lawmakers who pass legislation,
Right.
but family? How am I going to prove myself that this is not me and I'm better and I
Mm-hmm.
can be better and I will do better?
Right. Yeah. And yeah, because during that time, I think you have to do a lot of self reflection.
Yeah.
Which can be hard because
Mm-hmm.
you're sitting there with yourself, which I know it can be the hardest thing to do because it's just you.
Yeah.
So you got to face all of everything,
Yeah.
and what you've done
Yeah.
and been through
Mm-hmm.
versus somebody else. So I think that's a good thing that he has been infraction free, which is a testament as to who he is now, who he
Exactly.
has come to be
Right.
versus when he came in.
And that goes back to that question you asked me, how do I know he's changed? I know he's changed because if you look at what he has been doing,
Mm-hmm.
he got his GED. He was the class valedictorian. He's
That's
taken
great.
college classes. He has remained infraction free. He has been working up front with the office
Mhm.
administration, which it's hard to get those kind of jobs because you have to be trustworthy.
Right.
So all of those play a role into how I know that he has changed because of how he is moving.
Yeah. Yeah. And actions speak louder than words. So
Yeah.
yeah, so you sit back and you see how people move
Yes.
and they eventually show you who they are. So
Exactly.
that's what he's doing. Um so what's up next for you? I know you're doing the advocacy group. When he gets out, you still going to be doing the advocacy group?
I will still be doing the advocacy. We are in conversation to potentially expand on just being a group.
Okay.
So we're hoping that that goes well, but I will definitely be doing this because there's so much work that needs to be done and so much
Mhm.
more that needs to be changed. If Second Look happens to pass, which we are hopeful that it will, then there's still other things that we need to do, like end the mandatory minimum, get in prison oversight, um, just so much more work that needs to
Mhm.
be done within our prison and criminal justice system.
Right. Do you believe that is power in numbers?
There is definitely power in numbers, but right now, that power is in our votes.
Okay.
We have to get out and vote because it is critical to put individuals in those seats that are going to have our best interests at heart. And you can do that by looking at how they've been voting in the past, what they've been doing in legislation, what they have been putting forth as far as bills.
Okay. I definitely have enjoyed talking with you. I've learned so much more about just about the prison system, even though I used to work in corrections,
Mm-hmm.
but I have learned a lot. And I think I've learned a lot on both sides actually, not just on, on the correction side, but
Right.
far as the side of someone who has a loved one who is incarcerated.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go to our last commercial right quick. What's up, y'all? It's your girl Gam with Way to Gam Minute Podcast. The hottest boutique in the 757 is none other than Blase Boutique, 325 High Street, Portsmouth, VA 23704. And if you can't make it in the store, of course they got a website, www.blahzayatl.com. Yeah, here we go again, www.blahzayatl.com. Hit them up today. Now we're back. Okay, now How has your time been since you've been away the game minute?
It has been so amazing. I have watched several of your podcasts and
Mhm.
I have always admired the positivity, the
Right.
passion, the strength, um, the determination, like everything behind it. So I am excited to be here. It's an
Yeah.
honor. I appreciate you having me on. So thank you so very much. And it was such a pleasure to meet you.
Same here. Same here. So normally at this time, what we would normally do is ask Miss Go Getter, but it's kind of funny because she's not here, and I'm used to saying it, even though we aren't scripted at all. We kind
Right.
of we just have conversation, and we have those conversations that most people don't want to talk about outside of their homes. But we believe in, we have to have those conversations because it moves us forward.
Right.
If we don't conversate, then we're still stuck
Yeah.
in the
It's
same
the
rut.
hard conversations
Mhm.
that you actually get more progress from.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. But yeah, what did I take away from tonight? I took away a lot in this short amount of time that we have been having conversation. But I've learned to extend more grace. I've learned to be more empathetic because you never know why somebody has done what they've done
Mhm.
or where they were. So I've learned that's one or two things that I've learned. And I've learned that people can change.
Yeah.
And some people may say, well, that's that prison or jail talk. We don't know that. We just know what we know.
Right.
Um and I have enjoyed you, for this last hour. You drove down here from Northern Virginia, so I thank God for his grace and mercy that allow you to get here
Yes.
today, and he's going to grant you that same mercy going back.
Mhm.
And the advocacy group. Do you
Yes.
guys have a page or anything on social media so people can follow you guys?
We do. We are on all social media.
Okay.
Our website is www.sistas, and that's SISTAS in reform, prison reform, sisters in prison reform. And on any social media, you can find us at Sisters in Prison Reform.
Okay. Well, you heard it here first. So with that being said, you have anything anybody want to shout out?
I want to shout out my two lovely, wonderful co founders, Santia Nance and Juanita Belton. Thank you all so much because they are my rock. I also want to shout out, Justice Forward for all that they do to help support us. Of course, Kevin Ring at FAM in Washington, D.C., the
Okay.
national organization. They have been instrumental in mentoring us and helping us and, getting our stories out and, sharing informative information with us.
Mhm.
And there's so many more. ACLU, VA, Humanization Project, everyone, our whole advocacy community. I just absolutely love them. And we're Godspeed for 2023.
Okay. I know you're gonna shout out Mr. Jerry now. How
Ah.
can you forget that? See, Mr. Jerry, when you listen to this, I'm telling you, it was me that reminded her.
Yes. And of course, my handsome, very white voice husband, Jerry Lorenzo James at Deerfield Correctional.
Oh, you said Deerfield. Okay, good, good, good. Okay. So with that being said, we're not gonna hold you any longer. So until next time, good night.
Good